municipal commissions from on American with Disabilities Act, architectural access, disability emergency preparedness. And there was one specifically that is kind of a basics for commissions. And I think that it might be really great to watch. So I will make sure that we all get, and actually I'll put this this link in the chat so you can all see it, and we'll make sure that you all get the where did the chat go? Make sure that everybody gets that document, because I think this is, you know, since we're all getting started, sorry, Teams does not always get along with my computer, so apologies for the delay. Okay, here we go. So this is the trainings. And my chat isn't letting me. Awesome. I felt like I fixed the problems we had last time. There we go. But it does not like me in the moment. Okay. Here's the link coming. And in general, or we could also, they can bring trainings to us. And I think this is another great way for us in the future to be able to provide education opportunities for the community, either for the public or also for other departments in the in town. Then they also have quarterly tea, hot topics in the disability community. And so they do presentation with frequently asked questions and concerns related to hot topics in the disability community. The first 40 minutes are kind of a presentation, and then the last 20 minutes are reserved for questions. And so topics have included digital accessibility, navigating support options to resolve disability-related issues, training municipal ADA coordinators. And so they have all of that on there. You can get the link from the link I just dropped in there. And I just remembered the training that I thought would be really useful for all of us is specifically about making municipal meetings accessible. I don't know how much all of you know about kind of our challenges with finding a location for our meetings, and why we're virtual this time is that there aren't as many options available to us physically that make sure that our meetings are fully accessible. And so in order to maintain the accessibility of the meetings, we've decided to be virtual when we're not able to be in the Toomey room or at the senior center. And so this particular training took place in March, and the video is on YouTube, and I'll drop that link in the chat as well. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I just got back into town yesterday, but I plan to watch it. So town meeting. Okay. Does anybody, actually, Jasmine, can you stop sharing again so I can take a look at everybody? Thank you. Okay. So that is all that I have as an update.
Christy, can I just ask a question? So
yeah,
for our meetings, do they have to be a town facility? So do they have to be a space that's...
They have to be accessible. Yes, they have to be public. So we can't meet in people's homes. It needs to be open and accessible per open meeting law. And so, you know, we have a number of options, and we've been, a couple department heads have offered us spaces in their buildings. Jasmine and I have talked about it, and we didn't take them up on it because the physical accessibility wasn't good enough. And also being able to record the meeting so that people who can't physically attend is very important. So far, the plan that we're using going forward is to be in the Toomey room and have it reserved for the 4th Thursday of the month. There are going to be months in the year where that is not available to us just because of what's happening. So for example, the last meeting in March, it was ballot placement for the election, and that just took priority. And then this month, I forget what's happening, but But it's also just something that happens for the whole town and is historically always been that time. And so we do get bumped from that room. But our goal is to stay in that space as much as possible, and then have the virtual be an option to maintain accessibility for as many people as possible. So I'm going to go through our list of people and give you an option. So if you have comments or questions, and so I'm going to just go down the list of who's here. JD, do you?
No real comments. It all sounds pretty good to me. You know, I like the idea of them coming here to do trainings. I remember I had reached out to them a while ago about, I wanted to do some kind of, I think it was a training for like building audit or something like that. But they just hadn't gotten back to me. But that would be cool, because I think that would be a great thing that we could promote, you know, and get people to attend. Plus, that's just very interesting to me personally.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really excited. I need to dig a little bit deeper into this document. I got it right before I left, went out of town. Jeff is very excited about the creation of our commission and is very willing to support us in any way he can. So part of it is just kind of a logistics thing, but I do think there are a lot of opportunities for us to tap the department and have them do work for, you know, help us in our goals. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Fawn?
I don't have any comments or questions. I think it all sounds really promising. I kind of agree with JD. I think that the opportunity to have them bring training might be a great way for us to really start to become more publicly visible as a commission and try to let everybody in the town know that that we are here and we're trying to do these things and hopefully get a lot more people involved. So thank you for bringing that to us.
Well, and thank you, because you're the one who found the original contact information. So thank you. Mara.
I agree with everything that's said. I wish I could add something more insightful, but I think, you know, for me, I think part of what I know that I was hoping for is that we could develop an educational component to this commission. And I think having those training videos is a great way to be able to start that, because I think part of the issue is lack of education, lack of understanding and awareness. And so without knowing the library of videos, I'm sure there's a lot that we could tap into. And I think back to what Fawn said is to sort of validate what the commission's about and that we are an active commission.
Absolutely. I think, you know, once we've had a chance to go through the videos and see what they are, and I don't expect everybody to watch everything. I mean, my goal is to kind of like touch on all of them and see what at least kind of the gist of them. But, you know, we could even share them in kind of a social media way, or like include them in a newsletter. If there's a town, or, you know, include them. I don't know. There are lots of different ways that we can include that information in addition to having them come specifically to do something for Danvers. So thank you. Jody.
Hi.
Hi.
This is my first time in the meeting.
We're so happy to have you. I'm so
you.
sorry about the scheduling problems before.
Oh, that's okay. It's always just been like bad timing. But yeah, one of at the beginning of the earlier meetings, we like made a bunch of bullet points of like why we're interested in this committee, and one of my major ones was education. So I'm really excited to learn more about what is and what these resources are. So thanks.
Yeah. Okay. And Lauren.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh. There's something, Lauren, hold on a second. You sounded fine right at the beginning, and then the sound went weird.
Sounded weird.
Oh,
on your side too. So
Like super
okay.
slow or
Yeah.
well,
Yours
anyway.
is cutting in and out. I would just recommend perhaps putting some notes in the chat perhaps, and don't feel rushed to do it all at once, but we can also, I don't know if it's helpful, Christy, for me to like tap in whenever I see Lauren put something in that. I'm happy to keep
Absolutely,
an
that would
eye.
be really great.
And
Thank
then
you.
I'll just speak to it so that our folks from the stream can also hear it, Lauren. So I apologize, not best case scenario, but also don't feel rushed to try to type like 400 words a second.
Perfect. Thank you, Jasmine. And yes, the other option I was thinking is that, Lauren, if you wanted to try to leave the meeting and then come back in, it may kind of reset everything. It's always the whole IT, turn it off, turn it back on again. Sometimes it actually works. Okay. Okay, so that's all the, oh, I'm gonna make my note. Poll or, so actually, can I, are any of you available for daytime meetings if Jeff is only able to do a daytime? Can I just show of hands if you could do a daytime at some point? JD, I know, thank you. Sorry. There you go, Christy, saying things like, thank goodness for emojis. Okay, cool. So I will create a poll or of some sort and see if we can find a date that work. I'll probably start with Jeff at the Office of on Disability and ask if he has dates that work first, and I'll work from there and give everybody options. I may have to send this through Jasmine just to like avoid open
I was
meeting
like,
law.
wait,
Yes,
wait.
no, I know.
Perfect.
I
You know
know.
your stuff.
So so keep an eye out for that. I don't think there's any rush, but I do think now is a really good time for us to kind of get connected with him, since we're still in kind of our early stages of figuring things out. It's a good time to learn best practices and figure out where we're going. Okay. So next we have Lauren, and let's see if we work. So would you like to give us an update on how things are going with Human Library?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I sent an email out.
You know, you know what I think it is? It's the second one. I think it's
This one?
somehow I wonder if we could stop the second. You have two of you, and I think that's part of the problem. And I missed it when I was talking. I didn't notice. Did you leave and come back in?
I thought I did. But let me try. Oh.
Lauren, do I have your permission to try to remove one of you from it? Okay.
Such a funny question. Can I remove one of you?
Okay, so there's officially one face of Lauren and in the chat or in this on the screen.
Yeah.
How's the volume now?
That's the
No.
smaller one.
I removed the wrong one.
Okay, do you want to remove both and I'll come back in?
Now you sound fine. Go ahead, let's try the update. Let's see if it works.
Okay. I had been working with Jasmine on a email, and as far as, I wanted her to look at it before I sent it out. And so I did send it out to a bunch of people and really only heard back from one person. And the biggest issue is that we have to have enough space. And by space, I mean, you can't have people very close together because what they're sharing is so personal. So that seems to be the part of the holdup. And then no one else responded to the email, and I'm just wondering, I may have Jasmine send it out under her again, because I just don't know if it went to people's spam mail because they don't know me, so they might not have gotten it. But I would like to go, I would like to go forward with it.
I wonder
Still.
if it's something, if we are able to get in touch with somebody at the schools and have it be work with the schools, because I would
Right.
think that, using classrooms would be ideal,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
yes, that's what I was thinking of, but since I hadn't heard from a lot of people, I wasn't really sure.
Yeah.
I want to make sure it was okay to go ahead since.
Yeah.
But yes.
So it may make sense to create a planning committee, kind of a smaller group of us, and then maybe pull in, either somebody from the library or the schools, or any, if
Yeah.
you, when you are getting positive feedback, asking if they want to be part of a planning committee. Is there anybody else here? I forget. So Lauren, could you give an overview of what the Human Library
Yeah.
is again, since one, we have a couple people who were not at the last meeting, and two, anybody who's watching may want to understand what it is.
Understand it. Basically what it is, instead of taking a book out of the library, you actually take a person out and you talk to them about the experiences. And what it's supposed to be is you talk to people about some, I don't want taboo topics is not the right way. For some people they are, like people who are from marginalized communities, so they can share their story. And I think, again, what it seems like to me is there's a lot of it's education and just sitting and talking to somebody. You know, if there's someone, if just for example, if say we could find someone that was trans, if someone doesn't know anything about that, it's just like, hey, I'd love to have a conversation and be able to, the point of it is that you can pretty much ask any question you want, the questions that you know, that you wouldn't just go out to somebody in the street and ask, you know, obviously I guess the book would have to, you know, agree to what they're willing to talk about. You know, there may be some, you know, stipulations they have, but it started, now I can't remember, not Sweden, it started somewhere.
Denmark.
Thank you. And it's been done in so many places, and it's just, you know, all the people have raved, anybody who's participated has raved about how much they learned and so forth. You know, the problem is, unfortunately, I think the people are going to sign up for these things are the people that are already, you know, doing some of the work, but I'm hoping that we might, you know, maybe get some people from the other side too who'd be willing to, maybe just haven't had the chance to sit down with somebody.
Yeah. So for anybody who's interested, there's a website for the nonprofit organization. It's just humanlibrary.org. And it gives some examples of places that have done it in the past. Libraries in Massachusetts have done it over the years, both public and school libraries. And so I think that there are a lot of places that we can reach out to get some advice or best practices. Is anybody interested in being on a planning committee thank you, Jasmine. Mara, awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like, I mean, I could be on the planning committee. I'd also like to volunteer to be part of it as well. So, you know,
Right.
whatever capacity.
Exactly. And that's what I'm hoping. Maybe if we spread the word, then, you know,
Yeah.
the more people we talk to, then we, you know, people know different people might say, oh, I know so-and-so, they'd probably be willing to speak,
Mhm.
or, you know, like, I don't have anything, it wouldn't be, you know, me speaking, but I think there's probably.
Yeah.
If I can also just
Yes.
offer up, while I can't commit to recurring subcommittee meetings or something like this, I am also happy if you'd like to pull me in towards the end to offer some additional insight. I never did this, but I have been in conversation where we were trying to make it happen on a college campus. So just to help you all think through adequately what support is in place for our human books, what other resources might be necessary, how to create guiding questions for people coming in. That way, even if you are able to catch some folks who wouldn't otherwise attend, they're still being respectful and like following through guidelines. I'm happy to step in at a later point to offer that guidance as well.
Sounds good. And what I was really hoping is, because I felt like this kind of goes along with the, oh my God, the other committee, why am I drawing a blank?
Human rights
Human
and
rights and
inclusion.
inclusion.
Human Rights Committee, I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand with that. So since I didn't hear back from the two people, I mean, do you think I could just reach out to whoever's the committee head?
Yes, so I'm wondering, would you be interested in attending the next Human Rights and Inclusion? It's going to be a while now because it just happened last week, but
Yeah.
if you'd be interested, I could ask Jutrice, the chair, to get you on the agenda. I
Sure.
think it would be better coming from you and them seeing you in person and you
Yes.
talking about it.
Yeah.
So we can arrange for that to happen so we
Okay,
can go
that
straight
would
to
be
them.
good. So that would be May, right? Obviously May, because June I'm away.
Yes,
June, May.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, actually,
It'll
Jasmine,
be, go ahead,
I was
Christy.
gonna say that had talked about having the Accessibility Commission on the agenda in general, just as a connection, say, hi, we're here, this is who we are. And then we could if we just started with that and then said, and this is one of our first hopeful projects that we would like to work with you on.
Yes, so
Okay.
the next Human Rights and Inclusion Committee meeting is on May 18th at 7 p.m. in the Toomey room.
Okay.
And yes, so what I will do is add you all to that. Well, I'll add this committee onto that. And so what I'm hearing you say is agenda items would be introducing this committee, talking specifically about collaboration on the human library. And I also know I've kind of talked to both committees if there might be interest in establishing a liaison to have that ongoing connection. That's up to you all, but I'm putting that on the table as well.
Yep, I think that would be great.
No, I think that'd be great.
Mara.
Say as
Oh,
we sort of
yeah.
develop who our books are, I work for a disability agency, and there's probably folks within our agency that have wonderful stories to share. So I just thought I would put that out there.
Yeah. And I think I had emailed Jasmine after the last meeting about the human library, and I feel like we have two things. Like the human library is great, but I also think we could also do our own at some point that had many different disabilities, like JD, many people, so it would just be more disability based. But yes, I would mean more, that's great too. But I think it would be helpful as part of from an education standpoint to maybe do our own thing at some point too.
Yep. I also would like to say from just a program planning standpoint is that since it's still early stages and nobody's picked a date, I would really prefer that it be something at least 6 months in the future so that there's plenty of time for planning and publicity, and things always take longer than we think we think they will. So
yeah. June's a bad month for me. I'm away a lot of it, but other than that, I should be fine.
okay. So I'm gonna, Lauren, did you have anything else to add?
No, that was
Okay,
it.
so I'm going to go down our list again and ask if you have any specific comments or questions. So JD.
No, nothing to add. Just that, I'll be part of the committee and like to volunteer myself.
Okay, so thank you. Okay. Fawn.
I don't know if this would be appropriate, but I'm just trying to think along the lines of this in terms of trying to get as many subsets of our town engaged in this program. I can't speak. I've had sort of an idea in the back of my mind about interviewing people that I see around town, because I have this theory that everybody has a story. And I wonder if it would be something to consider. And again, this can be put on the back burner of this project, or maybe it's not even appropriate, but maybe to think as we start to advertise this, to try to couch it in a broader way, adding specifics about trying to further our mission of increasing education about people who walk in very different shoes than we do and understanding each other better, but maybe also about preserving the history of our town, preserving the stories of the people that live in our town in sort of a broader context. Again, I don't want to have us lose our mission, but I wonder if that would make this idea sort of more, I'm not sure what the word is I'm looking for. The words that are coming to mind are not the words I want to use. I was going to say palatable. That's not what I mean, but just sort of something that sounds more interesting. Sorry, what was that?
I said expansive.
Maybe, and so more attractive to people who might not necessarily gravitate to this because they maybe don't have a comfort level with what they perceive it will be. So maybe it could take different forms. I'm not sure. I don't mean to send us off on a wild tangent, but just a thought.
Thank you. I think that that's definitely something to consider. And there are a lot of really great oral history projects. And this could be, the places that kind of give guidance on how to do that. And it could be a really great kind of addition to this. Because I agree, we never know what people's stories are unless we ask. Okay. Mara?
No, I mean, I think I'm really interested in seeing where it goes and now I wrote down like the website. Now I need to go check it out and just have a better sense, but it would be a pleasure to be able to participate and bring it to fruition.
Thank you. I'm just also making a note, there are a bunch of student groups at the high school that probably would love to be,
Yeah.
to work on this. Okay, and Jody.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we had any kind of like idea of what level of attendance that we want to have for this event, and like what I know that you've reached out to other people who've done this, and like what their attendance was, just to get an idea of like, kind of give us a goal maybe.
That's a really good question. I can reach out to some of the libraries and ask.
Because I think based on what I've seen, what do you think, Chrissy? Like they have 10 or no more than 20 people, no more than 20 books. And then it
Right.
sounded like you had like 10 or 10
10
minute
minutes.
increments that you would talk to the person. So I know one of them was at a high school that I read, and I mean, a lot of the high school students were involved. So, but I don't. as
If
far
I
as-
may make a suggestion, just offering perspective based on the other events that have happened in town, and just thinking about the content here, I would encourage us to not to think small, but I think a more focused approach. So starting with maybe 6 to 7 books, would be a better bet to approach, also because you have to think with space. If you have 10 books and they all need their separate space, right? So starting small would help, not to mention even to bridge with Fawn's idea. Just because we do this once doesn't mean we have to only do it once. I
Mhm.
imagine that the size will be dictated, can be dictated by how many people are interested in sharing their stories, but it doesn't automatically mean because 20 people want to share their stories, you should have 20 human books, because that's a lot trying to fill a space with. So something small, and even like, one, so 5 to 6 books and like 5 to 6 people. I think it's helpful to give the community a taste of things, and then it might be a better fit for our community to start with a smaller, more manageable style where you have overall maybe 30 people, than like reaching for the stars for something that is as intimate and vulnerable as this.
Yeah, I
Right, because I'd hate to
Definitely agree.
see it, backfire if we had too many people and not have it work. I mean, the idea just sounded great, and I just thought it's just a great way to hear other people's stories, you know what I mean? And like Fawn was saying, yeah, just people in town too. I mean, some of the older people probably have very interesting stories, and I don't know, some of the students living through the pandemic, there's just a lot of different ideas.
I do like, I like the idea of starting small, and if it is successful and there's interest, we could do it again. But we also could do short videos of each of the human books at the end.
Yeah.
And then it's a virtual library that we can maintain or, share with people who aren't able to attend. So, but I'm still happy to reach out to some of the libraries. The list I had sent Lauren included Chelmsford Public Library, Boston Latin High School, Gardner High School, Osterville Public Library, and Cambridge Public Library. And I can always find contact info for each of those places and reach out to them. So. Okay, I think that's it for comment. Any other final comments or questions about Human Library? No? Okay, thank you, Lauren, so much. I really appreciate your effort on this. I think, anytime we're taking a brand new group and trying to do a brand new thing, that's a big hill. So I really appreciate you taking that on. And also speaking of brand new thing with a big hill, JD, do you want to give us, actually make sure is that our next item? I had to close the agenda. Hold on. Agenda. So I'm pretty certain that we are. Yes, sorry. Okay, JD, would you like to give us an update on the pedestrian walk signal and where we are with that?
Yeah, totally. So right now I've been talking to this woman, Emmy Hahn over at the Massachusetts Downtown Initiative. So I reached out to like a few different kind of government sort of project and like funding entities to kind of see who would be a good fit. I only heard back from a couple, one of which they're like, oh, we're waiting for our funding period and we still have to decide when our funding period is. So that kind of seemed like a non-starter with them. And then Chapter 90, I was kind of talking to Jasmine about, and there was someone I think that is involved with that. But anyway, I ended up having a good conversation with Emmy Hahn over at the Downtown Initiative, which seems really cool. Like it's a government entity that's kind of built around like just revitalizing, but also just kind of like updating downtowns to make them more attractive, which in itself is a bigger project than just replacing the accessible pedestrian signals. But that would be one that we could tuck it into at the same time. So, you know, when I was talking to her and kind of going over it, it felt like it was getting bigger and bigger, and that it would require maybe a bigger conversation with more people from the community and government entities. But right now, where I'm at with her is just trying to book a time to kind of have a meeting with her where she can kind of educate us about the whole system and how it works. She also said there would be a consultant that they would pay for to have come out to work with us to create kind of an accessibility plan for the town, which I think would be, you know, super useful, and then kind of help us bring that into reality, I believe. But I didn't want to go too far with the details with her without, you know, having some of us at least, or all of us, if, you know, if that was possible, to be able to like, you know, hear from her and kind of learn how we can kind of, you know, get it going, you know. So that's kind of where I left it with her. We were talking about meeting dates for next week. Otherwise, I can just kind of I tried to invite her to this meeting, but she just didn't have today available. So I can definitely keep her, you know, let her know that, you know, what time our next meeting is and see if she's available for that. Otherwise, we could try to do a mini kind of educational thing with her in the interim, and then she'd come to our next meeting to have a more serious talk with us. But we can kind of decide on that as a group. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the accessible pedestrian signals. And then I still have to do that library audit. I forgot about that. I have to go to the library in person. It's just been not super nice weather, so I haven't been like super out and about. But yeah, I'll be doing that soon.
I think no rush. Don't go out in the rain. It's not worth it. But thank you for that. I know I saw the emails that you were sending out while I was out, and it's a lot of time and energy that you put into this. So I really appreciate it. I do have Jasmine and I met before I went out of town, and we talked a little bit about kind of town-wide expectations. And so I have on my task list of setting up a meeting with Steve to kind of go over some of that. And one of the things I want to know also is our funding model, and whether or not we will have access to funding, and then what are the expectations with regard to projects that have costs associated. So I think that kind of ties into this, which is, do we need to be applying for grants, or is that something that the town would be doing? Do we need to figure out how something is funded, or do we just come up with the ideas and help kind of push it forward? So I think that the work that you're doing, JD, is really fantastic, and it's kind of like pushing us to move forward. And I do think we should kind of set up a meeting with Emmy to figure out next steps. But we also need to make sure that we know where we're going when it comes to funding, so that, is it something that will need to come up to town meeting next year, or I hope it doesn't take that long, or is this something that we could get the town to pay for it in some other way. So thank
Yeah,
you.
the thing I came across with them, because the way I found them was initially I was looking for how something like this would be funded. So as far as I understand right now, they are involved in the funding aspect of it. I just don't know how much of that.
Mhm.
So I know they pay for the consultant to build the plan and do all the pre-production, but I think our meeting with her will kind of shed some light on how much they'll actually fund the project itself. Because I can do some more research just to see like what they have done in the past, like what's their kind of like their list of names they've kind of a list of towns they've kind of dealt with, but that it seemed like like a little bit of a complete package to me. So we'll
Yeah.
see what she has to say.
Yeah, it sounds great. And the other thing that popped into my head through all of this too was seeing if we could tap into some of the data that's coming out of the Strategic Danvers project to see what accessibility topics are there. Because, if comments about walkable downtown or safe downtown, all of those can tie into our goals. And then specifically with this one, with the crosswalks. And so I'm always a fan of going back to the strategic plan, going back to the mission, whatever it is, and being able to tie a line from what it is that we're asking back to that strategic plan. And so I think we'll have better luck getting people on board if we're able to do that. So I have that on my task list, as well as kind of seeing what those topics are, so we can and also ultimately, when that strategic plan is released, then seeing how we can fit our projects into those plan items. So that was just a little extra. So I'm going to go down our list again and see if JD, were you done with sorry, the update?
Yeah, that was it. I mean, right now it's pretty much like I said, we're just trying to book that initial like preliminary educational
Mhm.
meeting so that we kind of can get all on the same page with them.
Great.
But yeah, that's it.
So if you have dates and times from Emmy, if we could try to see if we could coordinate, do half an hour with her and half an hour with Jeff, if that worked for people. If that didn't work for the two of them based on their schedules, we'll try to do two separate things. I am just cognizant of the fact that people have stuff that they do during the day, and I don't want to try to take up too much of your daytime time. So if for some reason we can't get everybody pulled together for some of those planning meetings, I don't think we should not go forward, just because we can't get everybody going. So, but I will make every effort to schedule in a way that everybody can attend. Sorry, that was like way all over the place. Okay, so I'm going to go down the list. And if you have any comments on the pedestrian walk signal, Fawn,
No comments. It sounds great. Thank you, JD.
Mara,
I was just going to say, JD, if there's anything I can do to help, just let me know. But thank you. I appreciate all your work.
Jody.
Yeah, no comments. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And Lauren.
No comments. He's doing a great job. And JD, I'm around most of the time, so if you need help, I can certainly help too.
Great, thank you. Okay, so then that brings us down to new business. The only thing that I have that I wanted to kind of bring to the group, it was one of the topics that Jasmine and I discussed in our meeting, was the possibility of creating a friends organization that could help with funding. I haven't done any of that research yet, and will be, but if that's something that you're interested in or think that we should do, I'm open to comments and thoughts on that. And is everybody familiar with what a friends group is? So many like organizations like libraries or like Endicott Park, they have fundraising groups arms that's a friends group. So as a commission, I don't believe that we can actually fundraise, but if we had a friends group, which would be a 503c(b), they could fundraise and do things to raise money that could then support projects, especially when it comes to like education. So if we were to hire a speaker or want to put on an event that cost money and we don't have the money, if we had a friends organization that could help with the fundraising, that could be very beneficial to us. We do have some research to kind of go through. My first stop was going to look from a library perspective and see kind of what are the steps for a library creating a friends group, because it would be very similar in structure. But I haven't yet finished all that research. But I did want to bring it up to see if there were any strong opinions one way or the other. So I'm going to go down our list again. JD?
No, I think it's a great idea. I think it would be great to incorporate some high school, like a group from the high school. I was part of, like, I forget what we called it. It was like, like a community kind of group that we ran at the high school just for helping fund all different kinds of fundraisers for stuff, and going and talking to people. So I feel like there's probably something we could tap into at Danvers High School, and I think anything for them is they're going to try and do everything they can to look good right now after recent events. So I think we can strong arm them a little bit.
Okay, great. Thank you. Juan?
Sorry, I had a thought and then
I can come back to you if that is
that's
helpful.
okay. Sorry about
Okay,
that.
that's okay. Mara?
I think it's a great idea. My only concern is, do we want to have some context for what we're asking for, so that if we're asking friends to help fundraise, they have something that they're sort of selling? Because I think it's much easier to do an ask when you know what you're asking for. I mean, I think it's great to say, we have this commission and we wanted to try to do activities, but I think it's much easier in the context of having defined goals or projects so that we know what we're asking for. That would be my only
Absolutely. I think that's a
thought.
great point. Thank you. So we can, before we launch something, we could end up creating a plan or a specific call to action and ask. Thank you. Jody?
I'm not really familiar with the friends groups, and so one of my questions was that, like, is it the kind of thing where one of us would be a part of it, or it has to be completely separate, and like what that actually looks like?
I think that's an open question. I know that when it comes to library groups, the friends generally are their own organization, though members like the board of trustees would possibly be members, but usually not the staff. So I'm not sure how it would work from a commission standpoint. So that's a good question. I'll make note of it so I can have an answer. Do you have any other questions? No, okay. Make note. And Lauren?
No questions, but I mean, it sounds great, but I think you're right. I think we need to figure out what our goal is. I mean, any of us who've donated to anything, I mean, much more willing to give to something where you know specifically where the money or what the money is for.
Right. Okay.
Just to offer up from a commission's perspective, and I do, Christy, yes, can do your research. Human Rights and Inclusion, from what I've observed, does have a Friends, and there are overlapping members, but Friends still does operate independently. So if they're like voting on what to pay for, or like deciding on what to pay for and stuff like that, doesn't happen during committee time. They do that separately.
Okay. Thank you. That is very helpful. Okay. That was the only new business that I have. Does anybody else have new business?
I do.
Okay.
May I
do.
just actually, I was able to think of my comment.
And yes, sorry, I didn't come back to you. So
Please,
yes.
please. You had mentioned getting together with Steve to find out what our funding model is, and I'm wondering if it might be a good idea to have that information in our pockets before any of us spends a tremendous amount of time on the Friends network, just because perhaps, I'm wanting to be really optimistic here, perhaps there's access. And then we could decide that we want the Friends for very specific projects because we know we have funding for other very specific projects.
That's an excellent point. Thank you.
And if it's comfortable and okay, I can stay on. I do have a teeny tiny bit of new business. It's not super exciting, I guess, but the Disability Resource Center in Salem, I had been reaching out to Lisa Orgetas, who is their director. I had sent her several emails and she had replied to one and that she is actually a Danvers resident and how could she help? And I thought that was fantastic. And then my next 2 emails went unanswered. So I called her earlier this week and she responded by email just today, just saying it was a very busy time for them. I asked if she would be able to perhaps join one of our meetings or if we could set up a time to visit, which I know were things that we discussed in a previous meeting. And she is interested in trying to meet on Zoom. So I hadn't replied to her yet. When I got the email this afternoon, I reached out to Jasmine just to let her know the status and that, it would be new business. So we can discuss how we want to go about that. But I'm thinking perhaps my reply to her could be to let her know the date of our next meeting, thinking that, if we know at that time, if it's going to be a virtual meeting like this, maybe that's a perfect time for her to join us. But if there are any other ideas or suggestions on how the commission wants me to move forward, I would love to hear those as well.
I think it's super exciting that she's a Danvers resident. That's fantastic. Our plan, our hope is our next meeting would be in person. It's May 25th. And Jasmine, correct me if I'm wrong. It is on the calendar for Toomey Room, correct?
Yes, and if we are back in person, we would still theoretically be able to Teams her in virtually if she needed
Yep.
to maintain that. We actually just did that with the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. It went smoothly from my observations. It does require us to give advance notice to DCAT because it's additional setup stuff.
Excellent.
Just so I'm
yeah,
able
go
to
ahead.
tell her, since she specifically mentioned Zoom, is that an option or would she need to use Teams?
That's a good tech question. I've only been using Teams because that's what the town has issued. But it seemed so I'd have to double check with DCAT about if it makes a difference. I don't think it would even impact them. But we can follow up about that. It's likely that it shouldn't be an issue.
And I'm sorry, just to confirm, our
Yes,
next
Mara.
meeting is the 22nd of June?
Nope. 25th of May.
Right, why did I think, 25th of May? I went to June and look it up. Thank you. I skipped a
Okay,
whole month.
wishful thinking.
Yeah, 25th of May. Thank you.
The 25th of May, yes. The 4th May, 4th
Yeah.
Thursday.
Thank
1st
you.
May. Oh my God. Okay. But yes, Fawn, I think it would be great to invite her, and we can make it a virtual joining if she cannot join us in person.
Sounds good. I will reach out to her ASAP and let her know all of that, and I'll keep you guys updated.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Any other new business? Lauren, you had unmuted. Did you have something that?
Well, because I'm not tech savvy, I mean, I don't know if Jasmine can pull the picture I sent her, but they did fix the Cherry Street Hobart parking lot.
Really?
Yeah, I reached out.
Oh my-
I sent an email to a couple people. And the guy came back right away, said absolutely would take care of it. So I went by a couple times. I'm like, they haven't done it. They said they were going to do it. And I went to Cherry Street yesterday to get fish and it was done. So it isn't a handicap spot. They took both spots and just put hashtags across it.
Good.
Elliot,
That was
Lauren.
amazing.
Wow.
No, don't thank me because I didn't even notice that JD's the one that it's been his thing. I just sent it.
I was actually I was at Cherry Street earlier. I didn't even notice.
So I was like, wow, I actually accomplished something.
You did. You
So.
get the award for first win.
Sure.
That's great. Thank you. And
I have
JD,
to
thank you
admit,
also for giving us the idea. Fawn,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was feeling a little overwhelmed and this just completely buoys me up. This is fantastic. We can definitely make a difference.
Mhm.
Great job, Lauren and JD, identifying and getting it done.
Yep.
Do we want to see the imaging question?
Yes, please.
Is it visible? Zoom in a little bit.
It is, yes.
That's
Oh,
terrific.
that's amazing. Look at
Celebrate the
that.
small wins.
So,
I mean, and it's not a small thing for somebody who's parking. So
Yeah.
well, right, and
yeah,
JD knows, like, because I have a child in a wheelchair, it's not something most people just wouldn't think of it, but it's a huge deal if if someone was trying to get through there, you know what I mean? So,
it absolutely is. The little things can make a big, big difference. I'll share this. I know it's public, so I'm not going to use all identifying information, but while I was away, one of my children was using a wheelchair at an amusement park, and one of the lines for one of the parks had a trash can in it, and so we couldn't get around. And that it was just one of those moments that kind of it reminded me that the work that we do, and even these things that sound like they're small, they really do have a huge impact. And we have no idea how many people you will have benefited by the work that you did here. So thank you, Lauren and JD. Fantastic work. Oh. Any other new business? Yes, round of applause.
I guess sort of on that note, would be, do we want to have kind of like a social media presence or some way so that we could show off these victories, and like have an easy way for people to hit us up, engage with us just to let us know what they're looking for and stuff like that?
I
I
see
have
Jasmine
to,
is like,
I have
wait.
to throw a wrench in that. I'm so sorry. So just to
Yeah.
clarify, when it comes to committee presence, because Jen Breaker is our town communications person, realistically, the understanding is that the town website does hold this kind of information. So it's really, there's not really supposed to be other independent like social media pages, for reasons that I'm sure you all can understand, of like when you start responding and people are like, well, the town is saying this, but none of you like officially work for the town. It just gets a little messy. However, a potential, I guess, workaround, if you will, things like creating newsletters and putting together content, that is a possibility. If you all are interested in pursuing that, we can have a follow-up conversation about what that might look like, and thinking about how it can get from your hands to be approved from Jen to figuring out the most adequate way to put it out. That can look something like you all putting that together, and then me putting a link to to whatever it is on the website, on your page. We can continue that conversation, but in terms of the social media, unfortunately, you can't create independent branches off the town page.
But like, for
In this
example,
case- oh,
oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Like,
We'll go JD
we
first
have
and then Fawn.
the town of Danvers, Instagram and stuff like that. Like we would just, create some content, send it over to them. Who even runs that?
So that is run by Jen.
Okay.
That would follow like a similar model. So I can ask her, even for something like the image that we shared, maybe that posts directly out of the town. And like the description with it is Accessibility Commission was able to do this. I can look into that with her and see the possibilities of those kinds of updates.
Cool.
And Fawn, you had a comment?
thank you. That's what I was thinking, because I know that a lot of people here in town follow the DPW page, and assuming, and I don't know if it's correct, but I'm assuming that they may have been the ones to make that change. If so, perhaps that could be something that comes out on their page, which I would assume Jen Breaker's involved with, but like you had said, with our name, just so we get our name out there, and so that people who perhaps are identifying other needs can know where to go with identifying these needs and hopefully having them fixed.
And I also think for those of you who are in different Facebook groups or social media groups that are, because I know there are a couple different social justice groups that cover the North Shore and Danvers specifically. You can talk about the commission there too as a member. and say, I am a member of this commission. This is the type of work that we are doing. If you have ideas, you are welcome to join us at our next meeting. You are able to do that as well, even if we don't have the ability to have a commission social media account. So I do think this is a fabulous way of showcasing the type of work that we're hoping to do. And I apologize if you guys can hear the beeping in the background. It has been going on the whole. Okay, good. I'm glad. I keep muting myself because it's loud here. Okay. Additional new business. Anything else? If not, then you know what? I totally skipped going over approving our minutes from last month, and so I would like to quickly do that. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from last month? I see a motion from Fawn. Do I have a second? Is it from Mara? Okay. And so if you've had a chance to look at the minutes, and all those in favor of approving the minutes from our March meeting, please say aye or raise your virtual hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, so then with that said, if we have no more new business and no public comment, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, I have a motion from JD. Do I have a second? A second from Mara. Okay. All those in favor, verbally or virtual hand raising? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. It was good to see all of you. Our next meeting is Thursday, May 25th at 6 p.m. in the Toomey Room of Town Hall. Thank you very much, everybody.
And
Have a good
Christy, I'm
evening.
sorry
Thank you
for your
all.
loss.
Bye.
Thank you.
Oh,
Good night.
thank you.
Good night.